am back in our Toronto studios after being in lovely Lethbridge, Alberta yesterday, where I went to attend the results, the issuing of the judgment in the triple prosecution of Artur Pawlowski, the Christian pastor, who has been in a series of troubles and prosecutions really for 3 years during the lockdown. It started because he had an illegal gathering outside feeding the homeless in the very early days of the pandemic. They gave him huge tickets for that. Then he wouldn't close his church. They gave him criminal prosecutions for that. They convicted him. He later won. And now he was on trial for giving a sermon to the truckers blockading the Coutts border crossing last year. And I was at the trial in February, and it was unusual trial. I've been in court more than any man should be as a lawyer at one time. I no longer practice law, obviously. As a plaintiff, as a defendant, and as a journalist. I have seen maybe 100 trials in my life. And I had not seen one quite like this. I think I told you before, there were no witnesses in this trial. There was no cross-examination. No one took the stand. Really, the only piece of evidence of any note, like they had a couple of photographs of things that were really nothing turned on them. The only piece of evidence was a Facebook video that's also on YouTube, recorded by Artur Pawlowski himself, I presume, of him giving a pep talk sermon, history lesson, motivational speech, a bit of everything, to a group of truckers and their supporters. Actually, I don't know how many of these people were actually truckers or just locals, because there was a kid in the room, I understand, for example. They were spouses. This was in a saloon. So actually, I don't know how many these people were truckers. I know there were some. Here, turn up the volume. Let's just listen to this illegal broadcast for a minute.
Will you, and this is why you have this famous solidarity movement, because when he was stopped, he looked at the people, they were outside under the hammer of the bullets of the Soviets, and he said, yeah, you're right, we got what we wanted, but what about you? And here is this lady, this is what she said. Will you stand in solidarity with the rest of us? Because you guys got what you wanted, but what about us? So when I decided to come here, I'm risking to be arrested at every moment, everywhere I go. The criminal charges on me, left and right. We lost count of the charges I have right now. But I decided to come here because I believe
we don't need to play any more of it. It goes on for 19 minutes. I had said it was 17 minutes before. It's actually just over 19 minutes. So he's a Christian pastor. He went down there. That was not the blockade itself. As you can see, that is not a highway. That is in a saloon near the highway. And the truckers had been blockading the border crossing before he came down there, and they blockaded it after he came down there. He went down there, went through a police checkpoint. They never told him don't go. They never stopped him. It was just a checkpoint. He gave the speech and he came back up, and he was arrested and prosecuted for it. Prosecuted 3 ways. First of all, they said that incited mischief, that he incited means stimulated, caused, counseled, promoted. So they said he incited mischief, being the tampering with property. And mischief in this case being blocking the highway. They prosecuted him under the Critical Infrastructure Defense Act, a never before used anti-ecoterrorism law, which is basically the same thing, but only applies to infrastructure. Convicted him on that too. And then the third one, which is sort of a throw it in the mix because why not? He was under a court order to keep the peace and be of good behavior. And the judge said, and he surely is right, that if you're convicted of a crime, that is by definition not keeping the peace and being of good behavior. And so the judge convicted him I was going to say on all three, but I want to make an amendment because yesterday I was moving at the speed of my fingers, typing as fast as I could in the court, and then giving my comments outside. Technically, the court did not convict on the Critical Infrastructure Defense Act because the court said, all right, I'm going to see if at first glance, prima facie, as they say in the law, at first glance, did he break the law? If he did, then we will go towards a determination of if this law is constitutional, because this law has never been tested in court yet. So the judge said, look, I'm going to convict him under the Criminal Infrastructure Defense Act, but we have to now, because I'm going to convict him under it, we have to test whether or not the law is constitutional. So we haven't actually convicted him yet, although I can tell you right now, he checks all the boxes for breaking the law. I have, beyond a reasonable doubt, concluded he's broken the law. But before I technically convict on this, we're going to have a hearing on the constitutionality of it. Now, yesterday, the prosecutor sort of panicked a little bit because he doesn't want to have this law literally thrown out just to get Arthur. He's got Arthur on the mischief and the breaching of a court order. And so that prosecutor was, no, I have the right to stay charges anytime. I don't want to proceed. No, let's call off that part. So that was sort of an interesting wrinkle. But the bad news is this judge said that 19-minute sermon really did incite mischief, even though there is, we don't know the identity of the people in the room. We don't know if anyone made a decision to block based on that, but the judge said it's not necessary. You can counsel an offense without that person having done it. And maybe they extended their stay there. There was one part of his speech where he said, stay here and hold the line. And the judge said, well, that's a crime. I'm trying to think back of all my hundreds of commentaries and reports during the lockdown. And of course, I'm just one man here at Rebel News. We have a team, and actually our team was even larger during the lockdowns. I remember that one day we had 17 journalists in the field at like half a dozen locations. So we probably, I'm not kidding when I say we probably did 1,000 reports. Well, not 1,000 on the convoy, but probably 250. I mean, there was a point there we were doing, maybe not two. Let's say at least 100 during the actual convoy period. We did over 1,000 during the lockdowns, obviously. Let's say we did 100 during the convoy. Did we ever say hold the line? I mean, I don't remember saying those words, but I might have. It's not a crazy thing to say, hold the line. Hold the line is a very generic term. I heard it used during the Peace Act strike. Hold the line. I mean, hold the line just sort of means don't give in. Does it technically mean block the highway? The judge in Lethbridge said, yes, it does. The judge said that what Artur Pawlowski said amounted to inciting a crime. And the reason I say, did we say that here at Rebel News? Did Rex Murphy say that in the National Post? Did Rupa Subramanya say that? Did Jordan Peterson say that? I can't actually remember if I ever said the words hold the line. I'm sorry, I just don't remember if I actually said those terms. But if Artur Pawlowski can be convicted of a crime for saying hold the line, paralyze the system, that was another word the judge didn't like, paralyze. And actually, because Arthur is Polish, you can tell by his accent, when he referred to the Polish Solidarność or Solidarity movement, the judge referred to that. So, the Solidarity movement had a general strike which paralyzed the whole country of Poland. So that's what he meant here. So I'm going to convict him. If you can convict Artur Pawlowski for saying hold the line, paralyze the system, be like the Polish Solidarity movement in the 1980s, like seriously 40 years ago. If you can convict Arthur of that, why couldn't you convict me or my fellow rebels for saying the phrase hold the line? We just literally published a book 3 weeks ago by Tamara Leach called Hold the Line. By the way, there's more than one book about the convoy called Hold the Line. There was another book by that saying, hold the line is a very common phrase. Are you now saying that if there's someone who says hold the line, keep it up, don't leave, be peaceful, but stay the course. Like Arthur specifically said, be peaceful. 3 times he said it. Judge said, that doesn't matter. We're not accusing him of violence. We're accusing him of inciting mischief. So I want to clarify, because yesterday from the location I said that he was convicted under the Critical Infrastructure Defense Act. He wasn't yet convicted there. They still have to test the constitutionality of it. And the Crown now says, oh, no, we're going to drop that charge, even though we already had a trial on it. But he's convicted under 2 other criminal code offenses. My point is, this is a worrying ruling. Because if Artur Pawlowski cannot say, hold the line, paralyze the system, do what Solidarity did, if he can't say that there, can I say it here? Can Rex Murphy say it from where he is? Can Jordan Peterson say it? Can you say it on Facebook? Literally expressing a peaceful opinion, telling someone to hold the line and paralyze the system and fight the power. I mean, you can watch Arthur's speech in its entirety. It's still on YouTube. Why is Artur Pawlowski guilty of a crime and I'm not, and Rex Murphy is not, and others who were sympathetic to the protesters? Theoretically, anyone who published an expression in support of the truckers could have been. Is that good law? But like I said when I was covering the trial, again, no witnesses, no cross-examination, just a bunch of lawyers arguing for 2 days in a courtroom over the wording of a sermon. I'm going to call it a sermon. There's a pep talk also, but he was there as a pastor, and that was his authority. Do you think it's normal in Canada in 2023 to have a trial, very serious trial, in a courtroom, and there's a plaque over the judge? It's the emblem of Alberta. And do you know what the motto of Alberta is, Olivia? It's taken from our national anthem. Strong and free, exactly. And I think that's isn't that a great motto for a province? Strong and free. Our true north, strong and free. So it's in the anthem. In Latin, it's fortis et liber, if I'm pronouncing my Latin right. So literally right above the judge, it says strong and free. But not free enough to let a man express his freedom of speech and freedom of religion, and not strong enough that you can withstand some truckers.
That's a clip from something we call Rebel News Daily. It's our daily live stream hosted by my friend David Menzies, but the show also includes a rotating cast of hosts and special guests, including me. It's a great way for us to talk about the news of the day as the news is happening in an unscripted fashion, and it's an awesome way for you to interact with us as well. We stream every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Mountain, wherever you find Rebel News. See you there.